Hello and thanks for watching Our Teachers Maths. I'm continuing to go through the Edexcel June 2018 Maths GCSE paper, and this is paper 3. So we're on question 18, and we've got an equation which is x cubed plus x equals 7. And what we've got to do first is we've got to show that it's got a solution between 1 and 2. So the first step in this really is to make this equal 0. And we can do that by subtracting 7 from both sides. So we can say, well, if we do that, we'll get x cubed plus x minus 7 is equal to 0. And what we've got to try and show is that somewhere between the values of x equals 1 and x equals 2, this function of x here would equal 0. And it's quite nice to show it and say, let's just define it as a function. So we can say f of x is actually equal to x cubed plus x minus 7. And what we're trying to find is the value which would make this equal 0. If we put into that x equals 1, we would see that for x equals 1, we'd get 1 cubed plus 1 minus 7. And that equals 1 cubed is 1 plus 1 is 2. Take away 7 gives us minus 5. If we do the same for x equals 2, so we can write that as being f of 2, replacing x by 2, we would get 2 cubed plus 2 take away 7. So it's just a case of replacing the x in this by the number. And if we work that out, what we'll get is 2 cubed is 8 plus 2 take away 7. And then work that out, 10 take away 7 equals 3. And what we've got is a sign change. And that sign change actually is enough to show us that we do have a solution between these two values. So sign change, therefore, the solution is between x equals 1 and x equals 2. X equals 2. Just to expand upon that, and you wouldn't need to put this on an exam paper, but just to try and explain what that means, if we can imagine drawing a graph of f of x as I defined it. So we could have f of x on this axis, or y is equal to f of x, and we could have x on this axis. Then if we were to draw it, what we'd find is, if this is 1 and this is 2, somewhere between 1 and 2, if the solution lies between that, it will actually equal 0, which means it'll cross the x-axis. So somewhere between them two values, 1 and 2, we're going to cross this axis. And what that means is, if we cross the axis on this side, here, this side of this point, so here, we're actually going to be on the negative, because we're on the negative y here. And on the other side of the point where we cross the line, we're positive. So we're looking for a sign change. So whenever we get a sign change, we know we've crossed the x-axis, and we know that at some point then we must have had a value which equaled 0. So that's why this method of looking for a sign change is enough to prove that there is a solution between these two values of x. So part B then, we've got this same equation, and we've got to show that it can be rearranged to give this x is equal to the cube root of 7 minus x. So first thing we could do is try and let's take this, get rid of this plus x here. We can do that by taking away x from both sides, and that would give me that x cubed is equal to 7 minus x. So it's starting to look a little bit more like this. And then the way to get rid of the cube on this is to do the opposite. So the opposite of cubing something is actually cube rooting it. So if we cube root both sides like this, actually on the left, the cube here cancels with the cube there. And so we end up with just x on the left, and that it's equal to the cube root of 7 minus x. So you can see why this is only 1 mark available, because it's actually quite a simple process there. Then what we've got to do is we've got to actually use this as an iterative formula. So use the iteration formula, which is the one really we've just defined or just worked out, to estimate a solution for, estimate a solution of this x cubed plus x equals 7. So let's have a look what this actually means. We've got x n plus 1 equals the cube root of 7 minus x n. Now, notice what I've done is I've added a 1 to the value of n there compared with the n on the other side of the equals. And it means that given x naught, if we put the value of x naught into the right hand side of this equation, what we'll find is we'll get x1. So in other words, x1 is equal to the cube root of 7 minus the value of x naught. And because we do know the value of x naught, we can put that into this equation. That will give us x1. And the iteration bit is where we keep repeating something. So then we would find x2 by then taking the value we got from the x1 here and putting it into our formula again. So x2 is actually 7 minus x1, the value that we find, and so on. x3 would be the cube root of 7 minus the value that we find for x2. And we continue doing that and getting closer and closer to the true solution. So we're zeroing in on this point here between 1 and 2, which is the true solution. So let's do that. Let's look at x naught equals 2. So that means if we substitute that into our formula, x1 is going to equal the cube root of 7 minus 2. And that works out to be the cube root of 5, which is equal to 1.7 and then 1.70998, and obviously a lot more decimal places after that. And it's very important to use your answer button in this to save typing in all these figures. So rather than actually then trying to look at this number here, the 1.7 with all the decimal points after it, instead use the answer button on your calculator. So it's on a Casio, it's at the bottom right hand side of the keys. Got an answer button, and pressing that is the same as actually typing all that back in. So then what I would do is I'd find x2 by doing this. I would do the cube root of, and it's going to be 7 minus, and if you save this number on your screen, then what you do is you just put in answer, and that'll give you a number which is going to be 1.742 with more decimal places after that. And then we can find x3 again by just typing that same thing in again. So 7 minus answer, and what your calculator will do, it will think the answer button means the last answer that you just got, which is the 1.742. And so it will give you another answer, which is 1.7388. And that would be our estimate for the solution of x cubed plus x equals 7, because we've just done it 3 times in a row to get x3. And that's it. So I hope that's been helpful to you. If it has, please like our video and subscribe to our channel, which is Gary Teaches Maths. And also for more help and articles on maths and tuition, look at our website, which is bestmathstutors.co.uk, and just appears in the top left of our screen there. So thanks for